Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Hunger Matters webinar, part of Congresswoman Adams' Charlotte Matters webinar series. I'm Marie Gualtieri, and I'm the Legislative Director for Congresswoman Adams. I will be your MC for tonight. In this webinar, we will go over how the government shutdown and other federal cuts are impacting hunger in our community. We are joined today by a panel of hunger experts who will share updates with us, as well as Congresswoman Adams, who we will hear from in just a few moments. Towards the end of the webinar, we will also hold a Q&A session where panelists will answer your questions on hunger policy and resources in the community. You can submit these questions for the Q&A using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Congresswoman Alma Adams to begin our webinar. Congresswoman Adams represents North Carolina's 12th Congressional District in Congress. She is the co-founder and co-chair of the Congressional Black Maternal Health Caucus, as well as the founder and co-chair of the bipartisan, bicameral Congressional Historically Black Colleges and Universities Caucus. She also is a senior member of the House Agriculture Committee, as well as the House Education and Workforce Committee, where she is ranking member of the Higher Education and Workforce Development Subcommittee. Congresswoman Adams, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Marie, and good evening, everyone. I am Congresswoman Alma Adams, and I have the honor of representing the 12th District here in Mecklenburg County. And thank you for joining us for today's Hunger Matters webinar, part of my Charlotte Matters webinar series. I'm grateful to be joined today by some experts on food security, agriculture policy, nutrition, and hunger prevention in our district. Dr. Raynard Washington, Director of the Mecklenburg County Public Health Department, overseeing all public health and environmental health activities in Mecklenburg County. Also, Zach Wyatt, who serves as the president and CEO of Carolina Farm Trust, which is an organization dedicated to strengthening local food systems in the Carolinas. And then Tina Postel, the CEO of Nourish Up, an impactful network of emergency food pantries working to address all levels of food insecurity in our community. And Kenya Joseph, who serves as the board chair of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Food Policy Council, and is the co-founder and president of Hearts and Hands Food Pantry. You're going to hear from all of them shortly as we explore the challenges and the opportunities facing hunger in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, in our community, and of course, North Carolina. Hunger, as you've heard, is one of my 4 H's alongside healthcare, housing, and higher education. And that's why I'm holding this webinar series to highlight how the ongoing government shutdown and cuts to federal programs are affecting each of these essential issues in the 12th District. But I want to be clear, though, hunger in Charlotte and Mecklenburg matters, and it is unacceptable how our most vulnerable citizens are being held hostage during this shutdown. We've been fortunate that SNAP and WIC benefits have continued to be issued in October, providing life-saving food security resources to more than 40 million Americans. But last week, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that they will not issue SNAP benefits in November, and the future of WIC remains uncertain as well. The department has the funding. They've got the money. Congress approved $6 billion for the SNAP contingency fund that would ensure at least partial payments are administered, but the USDA refuses to release it. That's illegal. The U.S. Department of Education, USDA, already planned to access these funds in the event of a shutdown. It was on their website. In September, the department's shutdown plan called for using the SNAP contingency funds to cover any lapse in funding. Since they placed it on their website, they have removed any mention of the plan. They know that these funds can be used to fund SNAP next month, which is in a few days, but they would rather inflict pain on the American people. And that's why North Carolina Attorney General Jeff Jackson, along with 24 other states and Washington, D.C., is suing the USDA for unlawfully suspending SNAP. Earlier today, a federal judge ruled that the USDA must use the SNAP contingency funds to administer SNAP benefits in November. This is an important step to ensure that our community doesn't go hungry, but the Trump administration will almost certainly appeal the ruling, continuing this assault on the program. As you've heard, I'm a senior member of the Ag Committee. I know that my Republican colleagues have continued to make many attempts to eliminate SNAP. The 12th district has more than 34,000 households that rely on SNAP to put food on the table for their families. And so without these benefits, our most vulnerable citizens will suffer. We're talking about over 50% of these households that have a child. 38% have an elderly person, and nearly 40% have a person with a disability. 46,000 veterans will be impacted in North Carolina. And that's why on today, I led a letter with the North Carolina Congressional Democrat representatives, Deborah Ross, Valerie Fouché, and Don Davis, calling on USDA to use all available contingency funds and statutory transfer for authority to continue administering SNAP. And this is one of the most important issues to Americans. And how have Republicans responded? Well, it's been over a month since Speaker Johnson has called the House into session, blocking our ability to reach a bipartisan deal that reopens the government, protects the Affordable Care Act premium tax credits, and lower costs for everyday Americans. President Trump has issued a $20 billion bailout to soybean farmers in Argentina, which is enough to fully fund SNAP through the end of the year. Our farmers aren't happy with this, and I'm not either. Halting SNAP hurts our farmers because they're going to lose income from their farmers market sales. And so while the White House is trying to secure an additional $40 billion for the Argentina currency bailout, but make no mistake about it, this currency bailout primarily benefits wealthy investors who hold Argentine bonds. And so the uncertainty around SNAP and WIC also damages the economic lifeline that sustains businesses and strengthens local economies. In fiscal year 2024 alone, nearly $3 billion in SNAP benefits and 165.5 million in WIC benefits were used at North Carolina retailers. And so without SNAP benefits, our food insecure residents will rely more heavily on food banks to make the ends meet. Today, Governor Josh Stein announced $18 million to local food banks, which includes 10 million in state funds that will help North Carolinians feed their families without SNAP benefits. And so I am grateful to Governor Stein for providing for our state. But even with this support, there's simply not enough resources for these organizations to make up for SNAP losses, especially after the Trump administration already canceled $30 million in federal funding for North Carolina food banks and schools to purchase food from local farms. And the $500 million cut to the Emergency Food Assistance Program earlier this year, which helps emergency food pantries and food banks offer food at no cost to families in need. Make no mistake, this is part of a decades-long push to eliminate SNAP. Since the 1980s, Republicans have consistently tried to make deep cuts to SNAP or impose harsh work requirements on SNAP recipients. And it's also why they made $186 billion in cuts to SNAP in the one big ugly bill that they call it's called beautiful. It's not beautiful, hurting a lot of beautiful people. And they froze updates to the Thrifty Food Plan, which calculates SNAP benefit amounts. And they don't care really about ensuring that Americans have enough food to feed their families. But that isn't going to stop our fight for food secure Charlotte. We're approaching an uncertain time, for people experiencing food insecurity in our district. And as the federal government abandons our neighbors, our community must step up to help. And so if you're looking to assist during the Republican hunger crisis, there's several ways that you can get involved. If you're able to, consider assisting at the food bank in our districts. We've got a couple, whether that's by donating food or volunteering your time. Continue reaching out to your members of Congress so that members of Congress know that this is an issue that you care about, and it's something that you will remember the next time you go to the polls. And please make sure that you share your story with my office. It's very important. We want to hear from everyone in the 12th district who's been impacted by the government shutdown and federal cuts this year, because your story does matter. And my team will drop the link to share your story in the chat. And so as we continue navigating the shutdown effects, please know that my office is here to support you. If you're struggling to reach a federal agency to access benefits, or if you need assistance with shutdown related issues, my staff stands ready to help. You can reach my Charlotte office at 704-344-9950, or my Washington, D.C. office at 202-225-1510. Now, I am proud to turn things over now to our panel of experts who are going to share their perspectives on how the shutdown and federal cuts are impacting food security in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and throughout North Carolina, as well as we'll be able to answer some of your questions about what comes next. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And as the Congresswoman mentioned, they will answer your questions towards the end. So for those of you who are just joining us, please submit your questions through the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And now I will introduce our first panelist, Dr. Raynard Washington, who is the Director of the Mecklenburg County Public Health Department, overseeing all public health and environmental health activities in Mecklenburg County. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thank you, and good to be with you all tonight. I'll keep my comments pretty brief, but just want to acknowledge that we are in our community continuing to experience food insecurity. There are communities and neighborhoods throughout our county without any of the shutdown effects or without any of the threats of losing federal benefit programs who currently still don't have access to healthy food and food that they can afford. And so every day, many of the partners on this panel tonight are working to even continue to make sure that those households are able to be have access to food. The problem with the thing like the shutdown as it relates to SNAP and WIC benefits is that now you're adding on top of that work that already is happening every day, even more, exponentially more demand for those very, very, very fragile services that you'll hear a little bit about on this discussion tonight. And so I think this is not the time for us to be losing food resources. It is absolutely the time for us to be investing more in food. Food is a basic necessity. It's a right. People and children should not go without food in our community. And I think we all have to ask ourselves simply, what kind of neighbors are we? What kind of communities are we? And food is one of those things that we shouldn't have to worry about. And I think the work that's happening here in Mecklenburg that I'm very proud of and won't spend a lot of time talking about, but to ensure that we're making a food environment for our families and residents and neighbors that's healthy, accessible, and affordable will continue. But I think the shutdown is putting pressure and creating an emergency, as the Congresswoman mentioned, that is not necessary. This is not an emergency that we have to. There are some emergencies that we have to respond to because we can't control them, like a hurricane or a pandemic. This is actually something that we have the power to change. We don't have to do this. So I think it's really important that we all acknowledge that. That being said, we do have a real looming threat. I think, as has been mentioned tonight, SNAP could potentially not have new benefits reloaded on Saturday, as early as Saturday. That will put many of the more than 63,000 households in this county that rely on SNAP benefits at risk of not being able to access food. We are also on short-term funding for the Women, Infants, and Children program, which, as you all know, provides vital resources, nutrition for children, for babies, for infants, the most vulnerable among us, not having formula or milk. to be able to stay and grow and be healthy is not the kind of community I want to live in. And so we are working to make sure WIC is currently, just to be clear, is currently funded through November the 15th. If the shutdown continues that long, which I hope it doesn't. And then we don't know what happens thereafter, but we'll continue to keep everybody posted. As it relates to SNAP, because of the looming threat related to this weekend sort of deadline to stop funding, there's a lot of activity happening in the community, and I encourage everyone who's able-bodied, who has resources, to help us in the work. And I know the partners on the call tonight will talk a little bit about specific opportunities. The county is working as well to ensure that we are providing support and resources and infrastructure to also be able to help in that. And we'll be sharing more tomorrow about specific opportunities and additional resources for residents if we get to the point of Saturday and we don't have the funding for the SNAP program. So more to come there, but certainly know that there is a role for all of us to play, both in terms of helping with our hands, our money, and as the Congresswoman already mentioned, our vote. So thank you all for the opportunity and look forward to answering any questions.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And up next, we have Zach Wyatt, who serves as the president and CEO of Carolina Farm Trust, an organization dedicated to strengthening local food systems in the Carolinas.
Thank you, Marie, and good evening. Carolina Farm Trust has really been focusing on really the food system issue and challenge, and the issues that we're kind of, facing right now. Just puts just a gigantic spotlight, on kind of the system kind of breakdown and failure. And I think over the last, 4 or 5 years, we've seen the power of government, investing, with the American Rescue Plan Act and the Infrastructure Act and having those funds directly into communities to build infrastructure and really look at kind of these system-wide, challenges and kind of get those ideas funded and into the system. And then with all of these cuts, really over the last 6 to 7 months, we also see the power of government of what that means when all that gets taken away, really almost overnight. It trickles down. I think we all, kind of hear about trickle down economics all the time. When those cuts that are happening at the size that they're happening right now, it's an immediate trickle down because it freezes states, it freezes, local government. And then all of our foundation and our funding partners it's very hard to react, because it just seems like it's very, kind of chaotic. When we lost the LFPA funding, which really was through the USDA, that really went direct to food hubs and, across food systems, that went really to our farming community and really supported different food banks, out there direct, with our local farmers, which was huge. Tariffs obviously are having a huge issue. I will promise you that farmers do not want bailouts. They want marketplaces. They don't want to be given anything. I think there's really no stronger community out there that wants to earn, everything they do every day. And I think it's also very important to note that when we are talking about subsidies and things of that nature, our vegetable farmers are included in those. Those are very much on the commodity level, and our vegetable farmers, aren't kind of included in that. I think it's important to kind of highlight. Just for us, with Carolina Farm Trust, we lost $2.5 million in funding, with the FY25 federal budget not being passed. We have $850,000 now that's kind of limbo with the FY26, federal budget, which has had a huge impact on us. We have to reduce our staff count to kind of bare minimum. We have a phase 2 of our project, which includes a nonprofit grocery store. It's fully permitted, just ready to go. So it is very kind of disheartening, to kind of see all of this kind of slowly unravel with the investments that have really kind of poured in again with the ARPA funding. And the additional challenge is all this is kind of, scaling back. It's going to be that much more extensive to scale it back up. And those are, some really big challenges as well. But I do think that there is, always a lot of opportunity in chaos. I think, this highlights how us as nonprofit community need to kind of band together, work with our local government, work with our Congresswoman Adams' office, to just rethink how we can play a role in fixing these systems. And that's kind of, again, What we're really focused on building a earned revenue blended philanthropic model, to really feed a system that takes care of everyone. Because again, food insecurity is an everyone problem. It's not just certain people's problem. And we all, no matter what zip code we live in, really need to think through that. Because that grocery store, I promise you, is an illusion. And just the ending really on a personal side, my wife and I have 5 children, and we were on SNAP a number of years ago, and my heart, breaks, because, any of us can just survive, but as a parent, not having food for your children, I don't think there's a worse feeling on earth, than that one. So, definitely my heart goes out to everyone in these types of situations. And as we kind of continue to focus on the system-wide issue. But I, have all the respect in the world for Tina and Kenya, who are on the ground, facing these issues worse than we are, mainly because we're working on a system issue and they're working on that emergency groundwork. But the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Food Policy Council and in Kenya, I just saw the other day, is just fantastic around just using some of the SNAP double buck money they have to continue some of that programming at the farmers market level, during this time. So it's very encouraging to see everyone step up, and I think we have a very strong community here to work through these challenges. But Marie and Congresswoman Adams, thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you so much, Zach. Really appreciate you being here. And for those of you who are just joining us, we are doing a Q&A towards the end of the webinar. So if you can put your questions in the Q&A box, that would be really great. Next, I will introduce Tina Postel, the CEO of Nourish Up, an impactful network of emergency food pantries working to address all levels of food insecurity in our community. Thank you for being here, Tina.
Thank you for having me. And yes, thank you so much. I hate to be the Debbie Downer of the group, my friends. We are fighting tooth and nail to feed as many folks as we possibly can at Nourish Up. So as mentioned before, we operate a network of emergency food pantries. We're actually the largest network of emergency food pantries in the state of North Carolina. We have over 40 different food pantry locations in churches, in government buildings, in medical clinics, on college campuses, inside other nonprofits. But with all that being said, with 40 different locations, and with amazing partners like Kenya's Pantry and other nonprofit partners that operate pantries and our friends at Second Harvest Food Bank, there is not a nonprofit network in our community that can shoulder this ask that we are about to face if SNAP benefits do indeed don't drop. Congresswoman Alma Adams mentioned numbers like, for example, large numbers are hard for people to comprehend and wrap their head around. What does that truly mean? So Governor Josh Stein, the $18 million, that's going to be an incredible gift to our local food banks in the state of North Carolina. But let me put this all into perspective for you all. In Mecklenburg County alone, that's our region that we serve. In Mecklenburg County, there are over 140,000 individuals that get SNAP benefits delivered electronically to their EBT cards monthly, to the tune of $20 million. So that is $20 million that will not be loaded on people's EBT cards just in Mecklenburg County. So a gift of $18 million to all of the food banks in North Carolina is an extraordinary gift, but it's a drop in the bucket to what people truly need. And even though I have 40 pantry locations, our biggest month on record in our 50-year history, we served nearly 17,000 people. And that was our biggest month. Last year, we had a record-breaking year of serving 164,000 people. That was for the entire year, my friends. We're talking about 140,000 people who won't get EBT benefits on their card in 1 month. So we are doing all that we can at Nourish Up. We are expanding. All of our pantries are amazing pantry volunteer coordinators are all taking on extra slots. They're opening up extra hours. They're trying to serve as many people as they can. We are we're planning some emergency distribution models like we did during COVID, where we will open that to SNAP recipients and also government employees who are furloughed and not collecting paychecks. But even at a mobile distribution, we can serve maybe 500 people in 90 minutes. We can't serve 140,000 people that quickly, and nor do we have that much money or funding. So we are ordering as much extra food as possible by the tractor trailer load. We are working with our friends at Second Harvest Food Bank, and we will try and cover as much as we possibly can. But I want to be honest with you all, there is no way that the nonprofit sector, even as a whole, could possibly feed the 140,000 people just right here locally in our community, that SNAP does. And so really, in every plea that we have put out to the media, the number one ask, I mean, yes, we want dollars. Yes, we want volunteers. Yes, we need all that. But our number one ask is to advocate. It is, let's get the government reopened. Let's get the USDA to release those emergency funds, because this is not our superhero capes that we wear in the nonprofit sector. Our capes aren't big enough to cover this looming SNAP crisis. And we've already seen a 20% increase in just the last week in our pantries. And that's mostly due to government employees that aren't getting paid. We have a partnership coming up next week with the Charlotte Airport. There's 650 employees at the Charlotte Airport that aren't collecting a paycheck, and they need food and rent and utility assistance. So we're already busy without SNAP dollars being cut off. But yeah, I wish I had better news to share.
Thank you so much, Tina. Really appreciate it. And for those of you just joining, if you have a question for our Q&A portion, please submit your question through the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And now I will introduce our last panelist. Really excited to have her, Kenya Joseph, who is the co-founder and president of Hearts and Hands Food Pantry and serves as the board chair of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Food Policy Council. Thank you so much for joining us, Kenya.
Thank you so much. I want to take a moment just to thank Congresswoman Adams and all of your team, including you, Marie, on putting this together. I wish we could all be joined together in better circumstances, but these are the times that we're in. So I also want to thank my fellow panelists for throwing a lot of numbers and context around what we're seeing and what we're dealing with right now. What I want to do is shift the vibe a little bit and say that as much as things are looking bleak under these circumstances, there is an incredible and immense power that we have in our community that I have seen personally mobilize and come together in our area. So I want to scale down from all of the SNAP users in Mecklenburg County and humanize this thing a little bit. I am known a little bit in the streets. Some of you on this call know me personally or work with my organization. I'm the people's servant. So as much as we talk about nonprofits and what our organizational power is, it's also truly the power of people. So I want to scale the number down from that giant in the hundreds of thousands number of effect down to one person. Today, I spoke with a client, a new client, never talked to her before, was helping her get set up for our delivery service. And I'm asking her questions. I'm trying to get her into our calendar, and she completely broke down on the phone. And I said, are you willing to share with me what's happening for you in this moment? We've seen and experienced this before. I mean, we've gone through all of these things with COVID. What this is about and what it was for that client, she was diagnosed with colon cancer, stage 4, and she found out today that none of the chemotherapy, none of the radiation has worked and is metastasized and spread all over her body. She is a 38-year-old mother of 2. That's what this is about. When we talk about SNAP recipients, sometimes we forget the humans behind that. People who are in untenable situations that we could never possibly even imagine. And make no mistake, in our region, to spread that around a little bit, we even have some of our farmers who are SNAP beneficiaries. So they could potentially be screwed on both ends. They're not getting their SNAP revenue as they try to stay afloat, and they're not getting their benefits to help feed their family and supplement it. That's a huge, huge issue. So for us, Saturday kind of feels like D-Day, but especially on the organizational level, that D-Day actually happened in February when the USDA started their cuts, when LFPA fell apart. So my story is that for my pantry, we were the largest recipient in Mecklenburg County for LFPA benefit through our fantastic food hub partner, FreshList. FreshList is our food hub in Charlotte. And they scrambled and worked with other folks around the state to do everything they could to stopgap this program after the loss of that program nationally in February. That meant no more fresh produce, no more support for our local farms and keeping our local food economy strong. And we tried our best to pull it together throughout the rest of the year to, get us to a point of trying to find additional funding and all these different things. And, we only got so far. This is affecting everybody. It's affecting folks that are not SNAP beneficiaries. It is affecting our economy. It is affecting every aspect of life we could think of. And so when we look, for example, on social media, we see a lot of rhetoric on both sides of this issue of people who are like, let SNAP go away. Not understanding how important and vital that is to the, functioning of our world and the family's abilities to eat. So in the interest of brevity, that is my introduction, but I also want to really preserve the human component of this, doing everything that we can. All of our partners are literally doing everything that they can and beyond to try to care for our local community during this time. And truly, as much as we can speculate and as much as we try to plan, we don't know what Saturday is going to really look like and what that's going to mean for us in our country and what's that going to mean for us here on the ground come November 1st.
Thank you so much, Kenya. Really appreciate it. And so we're going to move towards a question and answer session. And so the first question is where to donate food? And this can be to any of our panelists. Yes.
I can jump in on that. So there are many places to donate food, actually. And it's kind of a take your pick kind of answer. Our food bank is struggling and needs support right now. Second Harvest in Metrolina. We need to definitely support them. They do so much in distributing food in our region. Obviously, the partners on this call, Tina and I, do very similar work in certain spaces. We need help, right? Because we are trying to fill in the gap immediately on the emergency level. We really are on the front line of this thing. So supporting either of our organizations is a huge help to us. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be an ongoing need, and we need to also prepare for that too. We've gotten a lot of requests at my organization this week for folks doing food drives, which is a beautiful thing, especially because we didn't solicit for it. The challenge now that I'm having in that space is telling, kind of working with people to say, can you push your food drive out 2 weeks? Because this is not going to go away after November 1st. It's not we get to Saturday, this happens and everybody has donated and then it's over. This is going to be a longer term thing as we support people through this. And also we have no idea when it's going to end. So I definitely want to shout that out. If you're looking for places to donate funds or you're looking places to donate food, of course, my organization, of course, Nourish Up. But at the same time, if you have something local happening directly in your community where people are directly serving on the ground or pulling together, a community dinner, or they're pulling together just a grocery giveaway at a church, definitely support those folks, because part of my work is also representing all of us organizations and public servants, if you will, who are not part of the food bank system. We don't get our supply from the food bank system. If the community doesn't support us, we don't exist. So I want to make sure that there are resources spread around equitably so that everybody who is already doing this work and needs to be supported can be, and also to empower new folks who want to jump in and say, hey, I've got resources, I can do something, I can serve my corner of the world. I want them to be able to have access as well.
Yeah, I think another great opportunity as well, as Kenya mentioned, if you are donating money to different pantries and stuff like that, I mean, ask them to be sourced through Carolina Farm Trust or sourced through Fresh List, because it's just another opportunity. And again, why SNAP is so powerful is because of the economic value it brings. Partnering with me or Carolina Farm Trust, or even going into Fresh List, and you want to make a big order and donate that to Kenya's Pantry or one of Tina's or a lot of the other churches and stuff like that are stepping up here, is a really another great way, to kind of participate, back to Kenya's point from an equitable standpoint, of being able to help our local farming community, through this as well.
I'm curious if I can jump in here, and to Tina and to Kenya and Zach as well. So when people want to donate food, is there a specific criteria that you have? Things that are probably more likely for that you will accept, or what? Is there any kind? Are there guardrails on that so that people will know?
So
We certainly,
sorry,
go
Tina.
ahead, Kenya.
So every organization is different in terms of what their needs are based on their services. For my food pantry, for Hearts and Hands Food Pantry, we will accept anything as long as it's new in its original packaging and non-expired. We don't give expired goods. We provide fresh and shelf-stable items. We are a full choice pantry. So clients experience something similar to shopping on Instacart, we call it, without the pictures through our services. So for us, we need all the things. If somebody has eggs to donate, we're taking them. If you have milk to donate, we love that. Fresh stuff is much harder to get in the food assistance space than shelf stable. But there is a huge place for shelf stable items too, and especially staple goods. We really want to focus on healthy meal builders. So we want to focus on things like rice. We want to focus on lentils, dry beans. We want to focus on things that are easy for people to prepare. We also, as a pantry, distribute meats, which is not always the thing that happens in other places. It's a hot commodity and it's very expensive. We're proud that we're able to offer those things. And then also, if you're unsure for what an organization takes, they will love it if you contact them, but try to just do it in a way that is the least intrusive. So send an email. If you can text them, send a text. Don't just pick up the phone and call, only because our phones are literally ringing off the hook right now. For my pantry, and I'll give you time as well, Tina, we as a full choice food pantry also provide personal care items, we provide baby supplies, and we provide pet food. So for us, let's take care of the furry friends, let's take care of the babies. We need diapers, we need formula, we need wipes, we need cat and dog food. Even sometimes we actually get bird seed too, which is a pretty cool and random thing. And every personal care item that you use every day in your life and rely on and don't think about, we need all of that. Toilet paper, shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, we need all of those things. And I'll turn it over to Tina.
Kenya, I don't know that I could say it much better than that. I mean, again, we shop for our neighbors in need like you do shop for yourself. The only thing that we really ask people to shy away from giving us is items that are in glass bottles, just because we're sorting so much food by the thousands. And, if you get a glass bottle jar of spaghetti sauce at the bottom of a bin and it busts, then it sometimes ruins all the other food in that bin. We do have a list of priority need items listed on our website. So you can go to our website. But we really encourage people to give from the heart and buy the things that you like. I remember as a kid growing up, anytime my classroom or church had a food drive, I went straight to the pantry and I picked out the lima beans and all the things that I hated that my mom made for dinner. And now I'm a completely different donor because I see the eyes of the people, like Kenya was talking about. It's the people that are shopping our pantries, and when their eyes light up when we have their favorite kind of cereal or their favorite vegetable or fresh meat, that's what people get so excited about. So we are not interested in collecting pantry cleanouts. Don't go clean out your pantry of all the things that you don't want, that you don't like, that are expired. It's more like when you're shopping this week, if there's a buy one, get one deal, buy one, get two, and donate it to the pantry nearest to you.
One more quick tip. It's a funny one. Well, I've noticed in 8 years of my pantry existence, people will donate peanut butter and they never donate jelly. So we love our school partners and our kids because they know how to do a food drive. We get the best stuff from school kids because they understand that if you have peanut butter, you're gonna need jelly. That's the last thing I'll say about it.
Good advice. Thank you. And thank both of you thank you for the recommendations. I think it's important that when people donate that they should do it based on not only the needs of the organization but the people who will be actually shopping with you. Marie?
Thank you. The next question is there a comprehensive list of pantries and places to go? And so for our attendees, I just want to let you know that we will be sending out a list after the webinar. We have your emails from the registration, so we'll be sending out that information. Also, I know that our speakers have mentioned their websites in the chat. We have put their websites there, so you can have a link to their websites there. And so the next question is about, what are the Republican motives for cutting SNAP or suspending SNAP? Could you give us some more information about that?
I assume that question is for me. I mean, because these folks may know better than I. Well, let me just say that I want to really be clear about it. This is nothing new. I've served on the Agriculture Committee. I've served in Congress. I'm in my 6th term. But there's been a decades long resistance to SNAP by the conservative members to eliminate it. Maybe it's because they have enough to eat. I don't know. But I also think that sometimes, as Kenya has said, we don't have the right face on who benefits from SNAP, who needs SNAP, and so forth. And I think a lot of people don't know that, and they make certain assumptions about who benefits from the program, people abusing the program, those kinds of things. We haven't found that to be true. But so because they've been trying to get rid of it, when we look at that one big we call it, what we see it as, the one big ugly bill, there was $186 billion that was actually put in there to cut SNAP to help fund the tax breaks for billionaires. And so, that's a motive. The administration is refusing to use the approved funds to maintain SNAP, I think, at this point, to put pressure on Democrats to fold to the concerns and demands that we have made about health care. We're fighting to extend the Affordable Care Tax credits that's going to help 888,000 people in our state. And let me just say that these are some of the same people we're talking about. They're impacted by SNAP as well as health insurance, and so that becomes a problem too. So I just believe that we can do both. This country is big enough, it's rich enough. This is the richest country in the world, and of course, people should not go without food. Everybody deserves to have food on their table, and everybody deserves to be able to see a doctor for their health. So I think those are two things that we can accomplish. We can provide both. So we're ready to negotiate. I just got back in from Washington. My colleagues and I have been ready and willing to sit down at the bargaining table and get this done for the people of not only my state, but for all the states that are impacted. Is there another question?
Yes, thank you. So another question that we have in the chat is, I've never used a food pantry before. Can you talk about what it's like to use a food pantry and some things I should know, and what does it look like?
Sure, I'll start. So in the same way that we can easily identify what our experience might be between Harris Teeter, Publix, Food Lion, Kroger, it is the same thing with food pantries. They operate in all different manners and in quite a variation of manners, just depending on the nature of what their focus is. For my food pantry, our mission is food is a basic human right. So our goal has always been to make access to our services as simple as possible. We allow clients to set up appointments for their service with us in privacy. They can do everything through our website. We offer a pickup service, which is our primary service, the larger use service, and a delivery service as well. And so with us, we really wanted to focus on reducing barriers completely. We used to be a pantry that you walked into, just straight off the street prior to COVID. But what we discovered in the changes that we had to make to account for COVID was that the systems that we put in place and had to move to because of that actually made us, leaps and bounds more efficient in managing the large demand. And so some of the ways in which we work now still remain from, 5 years ago, and they're serving us very well. For us, we center community care. So it's not just, hey, I'm providing food to you. We also want to know, what's happening for you. For as many clients as we serve, we're at about 2,000 a month. We sit down and have real conversations with each person, each family to say, hey, just, lean on us for a minute. What's happening to you? Take a load off. Can we connect you to something else? Can we connect you to other services? Can we walk alongside you during this crisis? That is the most important piece. It's not just about giving food. It's also about making people feel and actually believe and have them have that experience that they're being supported and cared by another human. That is the most important part. Every food pantry is different also too, based on the volume that they serve, right? There are pantries that are just a walk-in service. Everybody gets on a line at a certain time and they get a box of food. Some pantries like mine are full choice. You get to choose what you want and, really have a little bit more agency over what you're receiving and what your family's needs are. It just really depends. And, I'm not necessarily here to say one way is better than the other, but, I can speak for what my pantry does and what we're committed to.
Yeah, we have a variety of ways that we serve people. We have full client choice pantries. We have some drive-up mobile pantries for people that don't want to get out and shop. And we also do grocery home delivery. It is interesting, and this is the thing that keeps me up at night. When I'm in our pantries, I can usually tell a first timer. And the way that I can tell a first timer is that they're absolutely mortified to be shopping in a food pantry. They walk in, eyes down, not making eye contact with anybody because it's a very shameful experience sometimes. And so my amazing volunteers love on people and shop alongside them. And in about 20 minutes time, they leave with a grocery cart full of food, typically hugging the volunteer, and you can just see the relief in their face and in their body language that for the next 7 days, they're not going to have to worry about what to feed their families in need. So yeah, so I would encourage anybody on this call, if you've never had to lean on a food pantry before, like you don't have to be ashamed. We've been feeding people for 50 years and there's no shame in asking for a hand up instead of a handout. We are now getting those government employees that have been longtime donors, and they're absolutely mortified calling us saying, well, I've been a donor forever, but now I need some help. Great, no problem. Let us help you now. And when the government reopens and you get paid, then you can go right back to being a donor again. So you can usually recognize a first-time client just because they're absolutely mortified to need our services.
And I would add to that really quickly also too, like, you know, we want to make this, as Tina was saying, as easy as possible. We want to make sure that people are cared for. That's, literally the role of this work. And so for any individual on this call who is, kind of teetering on, should I even try to use the service? For the service providers on this call who have clients who are panicking right now about what they're going to do, please urge them to utilize our resources. And the reason and the most important part why I'm saying that is because it is far better that we're seeing someone or seeing a family on the edge. Once they're in crisis, once it's a full-blown emergency, it unfortunately becomes a different thing. They're obviously going to need more and more support. So we want to help prevent people from, going into this state where they are having a huge difficulty in recovering. We want to catch folks, come to our services. You're in danger of losing your housing. Don't wait till you lose your housing to come see us, because your whole situation is going to be different. You know what I mean? So just, if you're in a place where you feel like you need that support, then that means you need that support. Go and get that support. We are here to serve you in this way.
One of the things, or many things worry me about this whole situation, but I think about the children because almost 50%, 47+% of the folks that that need this extra support are children. And so it concerns me that many of them, that there's going to be a lapse in terms of what the schools are going to be able to provide. These same children go home and they have they don't have enough food there either. So I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that, but that is, it's almost like a chain reaction here. One thing hits another and all that. So everything is interrelated. And some of the same, as I said before, some of the same people who are impacted in this way are impacted in other ways as well.
I will add that is often why we have pantries in the locations that we do. Like we have pantries inside of other nonprofits. We work hand in hand. For the best example of a collaboration, we work hand in hand with our friends at Crisis Assistance Ministry. Crisis focuses on rent and utility assistance. Well, I can tell you now, if somebody's struggling to pay their rent, they probably need a little grocery help too. And so we have to work hand in hand. I mean, we know the food space, but I don't know the rent and utility space. So it takes a village. That's why we have pantries in medical facilities. That's why we have pantries in government agencies, because they can help with some of those other things. And then we can provide the temporary food assistance, because being hungry is typically just a symptom of a much larger problem. And we're good at food, but we're not good at that. Our wheelhouse is not those other things. So we need to have a solid baton pass to those other organizations and entities that can help with some of those root causes.
Another great way that happens in our community is also community fridges. So we have community fridges all over the county, run by different organizations. My organization runs 5, and we place those in other organizations similar to what Tina is speaking on, because we want to make sure there's like unburdened access when someone is getting medical services or someone is being taken in for housing. We want to have that presence there. It's one less thing that they have to truly worry about in that moment. And to answer more pointedly to Congresswoman Adams' last statement as it pertains to children, as a quick legislative note for what's happening in our state, as all eyes are on SNAP here in North Carolina, what's happening behind that honestly, for a lot of us advocates in the space, when we started having these conversations, it was like an aha moment, because we're like, oh my gosh, we forgot about that. We are also in danger in North Carolina of losing sunbucks. So Sunbucks is a supplemental program to SNAP in the summer for school-age children. And this is, in a way, part of this overall fight of making sure that these kids are not losing benefits that greatly impact them and their family too. So we at the Food Policy Council are doing a lot of work behind that to get ready to really kind of honestly try to hammer the General Assembly a little bit to appropriate for Sunbucks so that we don't lose that very necessary benefit next year. And so all of these things right now are greatly tied together. You know, there's no one thing that is a single monolith issue anymore. It's tied to every aspect of life that we see.
And then it just, again, I mean, back to just highlighting kind of the system-wide, breakdown, and we talk about these kind of staggering numbers, and this is the model that we're really trying to figure out is how do we build an economic engine that directly impacts all of this, so just like with the retail markets and the earned revenue model that we're trying to do, and just because we're a nonprofit doesn't mean that we can't make a profit. It just forces us to reinvest those profits right back into our mission. So imagine you have a food system where we all participate in. I think, again, it just highlights on how much power we do have because we continue every day to feed a system that truly is kind of destroying us in one way or another. So it's how do we develop the infrastructure, create a system that we all can kind of participate in and create these economic, engines that can fill these buckets that can go to Kenya's pantry and Nourish Up, and then flows those money where then they can go to a Fresh List or us, and it's just kind of creating our own system and kind of taking the responsibility back. So I think that's a real big thing that we have to kind of think about as we're dealing with these emergencies, here on the ground. How do we come together and this is the system that we all want, so let's go build it, and we don't have to wait for the government to do it. We don't have to wait for the corporations to do it. We don't have to wait for the foundations to do it. If we do really want to come together as a community and build a system where the community can support their own community, because we can all look, and it's not too hard to Google, how much money Kroger made last year. So how can we kind of figure that system out on our own, where all that profit is being fueled, back into the system and not hit a percentage of the need, but hit all the need. And back to Congresswoman Adams' point, earlier, this is not intellectually challenging. It is not. We have the intelligence to do it. We have the systems really to kind of do it. It's just really one thing it takes, and that's the money part, to really build the infrastructure back, that we need. And we need multiple players in the space. We need Fresh List. We need what we're doing. We need 5 or 6 in the space, because that's how you kind of build resilience. Because the need is extraordinary, and we need a resilient system to do that. And that's redundancy. And food should not be treated as a commodity, because the more efficient we get, the more soulless it gets. So we need that redundancy, kind of throughout the model. And again, we can utilize our regional food system. Back to from a political standpoint, I really think if we have a very robust regional food economy and bridging the urban communities with our rural communities, our political life is going to get a whole lot easier, to deal with, because we're both facing the same problems. We just look at them from a different viewpoint. But that's really the power of food as well, is because it brings all of our cultures together, more in a curiosity and excitement standpoint, and not someone is taking advantage of someone else, or someone's getting something that I'm not getting. So that's kind of really the power, of the food and really this conversation. Because when you really look at food and agriculture, it's really the source of every problem we have as a society, and it is the source of every solution we have as a society.
And as a quick note, just to follow what Zach is saying, for anybody that what Zach has said has resonated with, I encourage you to support and learn more about what's coming in our community. Three Sisters Market Co-op. That is an example of bringing the power of agriculture, the power of economic engine drivers, and the power of community together to do something phenomenal. So I'll leave it there because I know we're running out of time.
I'm very familiar with the Three Sisters. As a matter of fact, they were one of the agencies that submitted a grant proposal to our office, as well as Nourish Up and many others. And of course, because hunger and this whole issue around food is one of my H's. I try to support that. Plus, as you said, Kenya, I think this is a basic right. You know, everybody deserves to have to be able to put food on their table for themselves and their family. Everybody deserves to have good health care that they can afford. You know, it's about access and many things, but it's also about affordability. Because if you can reach it and see it and you can't afford it, same thing is true when you go to the market to shop. Yeah, Marie, did you have another question?
There's a quick question that I think would be really helpful for people. Is there any documentation that people need to bring to food pantries in order to receive any of the food?
For
Not in our,
mine,
no, go
sorry,
ahead.
Gina. For mine, we only ask for somebody to bring a photo ID. Now, there's a reason for that, and it's just to ensure that the person is the person, because we've had issues where people have actually tried to commandeer somebody else's service. The ID can be from anywhere, so it's not like, oh, it's Mecklenburg County only or only North Carolina. We just want to look at your face and look at your picture and know that it's you. That's essentially it. For our delivery service, we have a little bit more of a documentation ask. That's also because that service is more limited. We wish we had the infrastructure of Uber Eats right now because that's the demand, but we don't. So that's how we work. And all pantries are different. Some don't require anything at all, which is great as well.
We do not require any paperwork, but we do ask that everybody gets a referral or an appointment so that we know who's showing up at which pantry. But our fastest growing program by far is grocery home delivery. Everybody wants that added convenience of groceries delivered straight to their doorstep. But again, like Kenya, we don't have paid drivers that deliver that. We are at the mercy of our fabulous volunteers. So if you want to do something truly incredible, sign up to deliver groceries straight to someone's doorstep and you are a lifesaver. But all that being said, because we can't deliver to every home, we can schedule somebody. If Joe Smith gets a pantry appointment at one of our pantries and he can't pick it up, a friend or a neighbor can pick it up on his behalf and take it to him. So no paperwork necessary, just the referral / scheduled appointment.
Great, thank you all. And one last question. Would you consider calling the Democratic Party leaders to compromise so the government can reopen? And I'm assuming this is a question for the Congresswoman.
Happy to answer that question. I'm certainly, and I've called on the Republicans to do that as well. But I will just say in all sincerity that the Democrats have been very clear that we're ready to meet with our colleagues in good faith at the bargaining table. They just refuse to meet. Our goal has always been to pass a bipartisan bill. I am a bipartisan person. Most of you know that in terms of the legislation that I have sponsored and worked on. But we have been trying to meet our leadership with Republicans in good faith. And so, as I said, our goal is to pass a bipartisan bill that will reopen the government, that will extend the tax credits. And unfortunately, our colleagues have refused to negotiate with us. They've not met. In fact, it's been over a month since our speaker has called the House back in session. As you know, it's been well over a month. And of course, we are ready as Democrats to negotiate and to deliver for the American people. And we're calling on our Republicans to do the same thing. I have a number of ads out here asking for that because I think that's really what it's going to take. And let me just say that this is not food hunger. This is not a partisan issue. It should not be. It is a and all of the things that we talk about, whether it's the health insurance. These are they're not unique to blue states or red states, to Democrats or Republicans. It's a red, white, and blue issue. It's an American issue when people cannot afford to eat, when people cannot afford to see a doctor, when people cannot afford to have a decent, affordable place to live. All those things, in my opinion, are basic human rights. And so we're going to continue to stay available. We have been in Washington waiting. It's the speaker's responsibility to call us back. But let me just say, the speaker, I guess, is waiting for the president to tell him to do that. I'm just going to be point blank honest about it. That's who he's taking his orders from, because even when you think about many of the members who are asking, let's sit down and let's meet with Democrats, etc. He's refusing to do that, and I guess once he hears from his leader, then maybe he'll do what is required as Speaker of the House. So it's been too long. We've got to get this problem solved. I'm hoping we'll hear from the judge tonight. Marie, have we heard from any action from the judge? As you know, there's we have filed our Attorney General as well as 20, I think there's 23 others across the country. I had an opportunity to talk with some of them on yesterday. And so we're waiting for a ruling about whether or not the president, because this has been a call from the White House to withhold the money. And it's really, Congress has already appropriated those dollars, almost $6 billion. So we are the ones who should be making these decisions. But it seems to me that the Speaker has relinquished the power of the Congress to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's an error on his part. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully this judge understands the dire situation that we're in right now, the pain that this is causing a lot of people. And so we want to make sure that nobody goes to bed hungry. And so we're working hard to make sure that happens. I want to just thank all of you for not only the great work that you're doing within your organizations and the space that you work in, but for really, I mean, you've been out there before there was a crisis of this nature. And of course, now that this crisis is before us, it makes your work even more dire and more difficult. And of course, the lines are getting longer and the need is greater. And you're right, Tina, when you said about people who come to pantries and who actually were the ones who were supporting in terms of financially supporting pantries and even working in them. Are now on the receiving end of trying to make sure that they're able to feed their families. So, Marie, those would be my closing out comments. Again, we're going to work hard. We'll keep everybody posted on what's going on as it relates. We've got 48 hours from now. And hopefully this particular problem will be solved, because it can be. We have the money, and if we've got the money to buy planes for the secretary, if we've got money to bail out Argentina, we've got money to build a ballroom and all those other kinds of things. Those are the people's dollars. They don't belong to the president. They don't belong to they belong to the people of the United States of America. So let me again thank all of you for your participation, and to all of those who joined us on this call as listeners, and those of you who submitted questions. Those questions that we did not answer, we'll be able to answer them, put them on the website, and please send us your stories. That is so important. We have a link on our website for you to enter your stories. You don't have to put your name if you don't want to. but it's important for us to be able to relate to our colleagues that this is real pain experienced by real people.
Thank you so much to the panelists, and thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this evening. Again, if you would like to reach out to our office, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the Charlotte office at 704-344-9950 or in Washington, D.C. at 202-225-1510. Thank you again so much, and we will also be following up with resources, links, as well as that comprehensive food resource list. So thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.